They say your home is your safe space, but what happens when just changing your Wi-Fi password gets you treated like a criminal? My name is Darius Coleman, and I thought I was having a normal afternoon. I wasn't breaking any laws, I wasn't bothering anyone, but my neighbor didn't see it that way. She called the police on me, just for standing in my own driveway, using my phone. What they found when they arrived? It flipped the whole neighborhood upside down. So here's my story. And if you think you know how it ends, I promise you, you don't. My name's Darius Coleman, and I don't like attention. Never have. I work from home, keep to myself. Bills paid, lawn trimmed, porch swept. You won't catch me causing trouble. And I sure don't go looking for it either. Folks in the neighborhood don't really know me. That's by design. It's not that I'm unfriendly, just private. I wave when I have to. Say hello at the mailbox. Keep things polite, short and simple. No drama, no noise, no nonsense. Just the way I like it. I've lived in Crestwood, Missouri for 3 years. It's not perfect, but it's quiet. The kind of place where you can hear your own thoughts at night. That mattered to me. I've lived in places where sirens replaced lullabies, where people yelled through walls, and cops showed up more than pizza delivery. So yeah, peace and quiet. That's golden. I bought this house myself. Didn't inherit it. Didn't luck into it. I worked for it. Every damn brick. And when I finally moved in, I felt like I could breathe again. I filled it with things that made me feel safe. Thick curtains, deadbolts, a solid security system, inside and out. Not because I was paranoid, but because I knew what it felt like to not be safe. So I built my little world here. My routine, my bubble. I stayed in it, and I didn't bother anyone. People like Melanie Foster, I saw them from a distance, waving a little too hard, smiling a little too fake. She never said much to me, which I didn't mind, but I could feel it, that itch in her stare, like she couldn't figure me out, and that made her uncomfortable. Some folks don't need a reason, they just need a gut feeling. And suddenly you're a problem. But I didn't pay it much mind. I had better things to focus on, like work, like sleep, like peace. That's the thing though. Peace doesn't last forever. Sometimes it gets interrupted in ways you never saw coming. Not with noise, not with crime, but with suspicion. Thin, quiet, poisonous suspicion. And one day, all it took to shatter my bubble was a strange name on a Wi-Fi network. And me, standing in my own driveway, trying to fix it. I didn't know then that someone was watching. Didn't know she had already picked up the phone. Didn't know I was about to go from invisible to target. It started small, just a little buffering. I was on a video call that afternoon. Client pitch. Pretty important. And suddenly I'm frozen mid-sentence, looking like I just smelled something awful. You know the look. That awkward freeze frame no one wants to be remembered by. At first I thought maybe it was just a glitch. Wi-Fi acting up. It happens. I restarted the modem, waited, came back, still lagging. Music wouldn't stream right. YouTube kept spinning. My smart speaker kept saying it was reconnecting. Every device in the house was slower than usual. Nah, something wasn't right. So I opened up the router settings, just to check. Not trying to be a hacker, just making sure it wasn't something simple. Scrolled through the connected devices. My phone? Check. Laptop? Check. Smart TV in the living room? That too. But then I saw something weird. There it was. A name I didn't recognize. Not the usual mix of numbers and letters. It was labeled like someone had taken their time with it. Crestwood ISO 1. That made me pause. Crestwood. That's the name of my neighborhood. Why would someone name their device after the street we live on? I don't name my stuff like that. I don't even name my Bluetooth speakers. And I definitely don't have a device called Crestwood ISO 1. No one should. I clicked for more info. It had been connected for hours. Not just today. I checked the logs. It had been logging in regularly, every day, like clockwork. Late mornings, early afternoons, right when I'm working, right when no one's home but me. I sat back in my chair, staring at the screen. Someone was using my Wi-Fi. But more than that, it felt deliberate, like they wanted to hide in plain sight, like they wanted me to not notice. I kicked the device off the network, forced disconnect, then reset the entire system. New password, stronger encryption, everything. I stepped outside to finish the setup. Signals better near the window. Phone in hand, router app open. I stood there typing away. And that's when I felt it. A window opened behind me. A shift in the air. Eyes. I didn't look up. Didn't think much of it. Just wanted to finish changing the damn password. But someone else? They were already drawing their own conclusions. And within minutes, they were reaching for the phone. Not to fix their Wi-Fi, but to call the cops. I figured that was the end of it. Boot the mystery device, change the password, lock it down. But I wasn't going to take chances. Not now. Whoever connected that thing, whoever Crestwood I-01 was, they weren't just stealing bandwidth. They were trying to blend in. That part stuck with me. The name, the timing, like someone was watching. So I reset everything. Not just the password. I changed the network name, the security level, even the admin credentials. I went full lockdown. Problem was, my signal inside the house was acting spotty. Maybe the router needed a minute to breathe, or maybe it was the old plaster walls. Either way, the app wouldn't save the changes unless I got closer. So I stepped outside, phone in one hand, router settings pulled up, just trying to get a clean signal. No big deal. I leaned against the side of the house, thumb tapping through menus, entering the new password twice. It was quiet, peaceful, sunlight hitting the driveway just right. One of those simple moments where your mind finally starts to settle. I had no idea someone else was watching me. From her kitchen window, 2 houses down, Melanie Foster stood with her arms crossed. I didn't see her, didn't hear anything. But later, I'd replay it all in my head. How long she must have been standing there, how quickly her mind must have filled in the blanks. She saw me with my phone. Outside, fingers moving fast. Probably thought I was up to something. She'd lived in the neighborhood longer than I had. Went to every block meeting, talked to everyone, except me. I was the guy who never waved first. The one who didn't come to barbecues. The one who kept the curtains drawn. To her, that probably meant something. Something bad. So now here I was, outside with my phone, looking, I don't know, suspicious? She didn't ask. Didn't walk over, didn't say, like, hey, everything all right? She just picked up the phone and dialed. I found out later what she said. He's doing something with his phone. It looks wrong. I don't trust him. But at the time, I was just standing there, typing in numbers, trying to fix my Wi-Fi, thinking nothing of it. That's the scary part. It doesn't take much for someone to decide you're the problem. A glance, a hunch, a gut feeling with no facts behind it. And once that call is made, there's no pause button, no rewind. You don't get to explain first. You just get to react. And by the time I walked back inside, the cops were already on their way. I still didn't know she'd made the call. Not yet. I was inside, sipping coffee. Feeling good, actually. Router was reset. Signal strong. Music playing again without skipping. For a second, I thought that was it. Problem solved. Meanwhile, just a few houses down, Melanie Foster was pacing in her kitchen, phone pressed to her ear, eyes locked on my driveway like I'd just dumped a body. She told the dispatcher I looked off, that I was doing something weird with my phone, said I'd been standing there for too long. She didn't mention I was in my own yard. Didn't say she'd never spoken a word to me. Didn't admit she had no idea what I was actually doing. Just that I made her uncomfortable. And somehow, that was enough. The dispatcher asked if I was holding any weapons. Melanie said no. Asked if I'd been threatening. She said no again. But still, she pushed. Said I might be up to something. Said it was a gut feeling. A few blocks over, 2 officers got the call. Suspicious mail. Unknown activity. Possibly tampering with something. No real threat. No actual crime. But enough to raise a brow. That's how it works sometimes. They don't need a full story, just a spark. And if that spark comes from the right voice, it turns into a fire real quick. While they were pulling onto my street, I was in the kitchen rinsing a mug, watching the dog across the road bark at squirrels, completely unaware that my name was being spoken into a police radio, that my face had already been described, that my driveway had become a location of interest. I didn't hear the sirens, not at first. It was the flash of lights in the reflection on my fridge that caught my eye. I turned to the window, saw the patrol car slow to a crawl. "You see this?" Carter said, pointing. "It's logging in at the same time every day, morning to early afternoon. Same pattern." Navarro exhaled. "You think it's someone nearby?" "Has to be," I said. "Signal strength like that? It's not some car driving by." He nodded again, slower this time. "We might be dealing with more than just stolen Wi-Fi." That's when I said it. "Check the logs. I think someone's been accessing my camera feeds." Both officers froze. Navarro looked at me hard. "Your what?" "My security system runs through the network," I said. "Indoor and outdoor cameras, motion alerts, all of it." I took the phone back, opened the app, mirrored it to my laptop, and pulled up the logs. Every camera had a digital fingerprint, and one of them matched the device ID for Crestwood I-01. "There," I said, pointing. "It's been watching." Carter leaned in again. "Your live feeds?" I nodded. "Not just mine." Her head snapped toward me. "What do you mean?" I clicked into the extended logs. IP traces, activity timestamps, access points. Some of the flagged entries weren't mine. They were from other houses. Navarro stepped in closer, eyes locked on the screen. "This thing's bouncing between networks." "More like bouncing between cameras," I said quietly. "Not just stealing internet. Watching. People." No one spoke for a second. Even Melanie went quiet. She'd been standing on her porch like she was watching a show. Now her arms were hanging by her sides, her face pale. Something shifted in that moment. The story changed. And for the first time that day, someone other than me started to feel afraid. I don't think any of us were breathing, not for a few seconds. Carter was the first to speak. "You're telling us someone's been watching your camera feeds through your own Wi-Fi?" "That's exactly what I'm telling you," I said. "And not just mine." I clicked further into the logs, heart pounding. Not out of fear, out of focus. This wasn't just personal anymore. It was bigger. The logs showed repeated remote access to my network. At first I thought maybe it was some app syncing wrong, but the more I looked, the clearer it got. This wasn't random. The device had tunneled in and started browsing camera ports. IP addresses matched. Timestamps lined up. "This is organized," I muttered. "They knew what they were doing." Navarro nodded, silent. His face had shifted. No more routine cop look. Now he looked like someone staring at a crime scene, because that's what this was. A digital one. I pulled up access attempts. A log of camera IEs that didn't belong to me. Homes on my street, on the next block over. Some had matching network names. Others had been tricked into connecting. "See this?" I said, pointing to one labeled K Family 2.4. "That's not mine. That's the Thompsons down the street." Navarro exchanged a look with Carter. "You think whoever did this set up a fake access point?" I nodded. "Like a decoy. It's a known trick. Set up a Wi-Fi name that looks legit. People connect without thinking. Once they're in, it's open season." Carter's voice was tight. "You're describing a man-in-the-middle attack." "Exactly." Navarro turned toward Melanie, who was still lingering on the edge of the lawn, like she wasn't sure if she should step in or stay out of it. "Ma'am, were you aware of any strange devices connected to your network recently?" She blinked. I don't know. I don't check that stuff." Her voice was softer now. "No more accusations. Just nerves." "You might want to," Carter said. I kept digging, scanning, tracing routes. There was a pattern. One IP kept showing up across all the logs. Same digital fingerprint, same origin point. It didn't belong to me, or the Thompsons, or any other household that made sense. Navarro leaned in as I pulled the map overlay. The access point wasn't random. It was fixed, and it was close. Wait, I said, freezing. This signal's coming from inside the neighborhood. Navarro frowned. How close? I zoomed in, cross-referenced signal strength with timestamps. It gave me a match, an address, just 3 houses down. Melanie stepped forward, peering at the screen. When she saw it, her face drained. No, she whispered. That's Brandon's room. Her voice cracked. My nephew. And just like that, everything flipped. I stared at the screen. That address. It wasn't just close. It was right there. 3 houses down. Same side of the street. Melanie's place. I looked up at her. She didn't move. Didn't blink. That's your house, I said quietly. The signal's strongest there. Has been all week. She shook her head before the words even registered. No, that doesn't make any sense. I live there. Just me and my nephew, Brandon. Navarro stepped in. Brandon Foster? Lives with you? She nodded slowly, but you could see the walls cracking. He's a good kid. College student. Always on his computer, but he wouldn't. That word always shows up right before the truth. Carter was already moving. Let's talk to him. Melanie hesitated. She looked like someone caught in a slow-motion nightmare. She wanted to believe this wasn't happening, that it couldn't be him. I'll take you, she whispered. I didn't say anything, didn't offer to come, but I watched. From the sidewalk, I watched her lead them back toward her house, arms wrapped around herself like that might keep everything from falling apart. Navarro glanced back at me. You wait here, he said. Standard protocol. I nodded, didn't argue, but my jaw was tight. They disappeared inside, and I stood there, staring at the door, heart pounding, not from fear, but from knowing how fast people make the wrong assumptions. I was the threat an hour ago. Now suddenly, I was the one who figured it all out. 10 minutes passed. 15. Then the front door opened, and out stepped Brandon. Slim kid, hoodie, hair messy like he just rolled out of bed, eyes darting like he was scanning for exits. Carter was behind him, hand near her holster. Navarro flanked the other side. Brandon didn't look dangerous, but he didn't look innocent either. He looked caught. Navarro's voice was firm. Brandon Foster, we have reason to believe you've been accessing private camera feeds in the neighborhood using an unauthorized device connected to multiple Wi-Fi networks. Brandon blinked. What? That's crazy. I don't even know how to do that. Carter stepped forward. Then you won't mind if we check your laptop? He froze. Just for a second. But it was enough. No warrant, he muttered. Not without a warrant. Navarro's tone sharpened. Then tell us now. What were you doing on Mr. Coleman's network? Brandon's mouth opened, then closed. And in that moment, just before the mask dropped, he looked right at his aunt. She wasn't saying a word, but her eyes were pleading. Tell me it's not true. Brandon looked down, and that's when I knew. He didn't have to say a thing. Guilt doesn't need sound. Brandon stood there, chewing on silence. His hands fidgeted at his sides, like they were looking for something to hold on to, something solid. I didn't mean for it to go that far, he said finally. His voice was small, like he was talking to himself more than anyone else. It started as a joke. I just wanted to see if I could get into someone's Wi-Fi. I thought, I don't know, it'd be funny. Carter crossed her arms. Watching people through their own security cameras is funny to you? Brandon flinched. No. It wasn't like that at first. I wasn't trying to... He stopped, because there was no way to finish that sentence and make it sound okay. It got out of hand, he muttered. I saw the feeds, and I got curious. I didn't touch anything. I just watched. Navarro stepped forward. How many homes? Brandon's mouth opened, then shut. His jaw tightened. His eyes dropped to the porch. I don't know, he said. I didn't count. Melanie looked like she was made of glass, thin, fragile. She took one step back like the air had shoved her. You've been in my house, she whispered. It wasn't a question. It was a realization. Brandon looked up at her. His eyes were wet now. I swear, Aunt Mel, I didn't mean to. She raised her hand to stop him and just stood there, frozen in place, like she'd been the one hacked. Navarro didn't wait any longer. Brandon Foster, you're under arrest for unlawful surveillance and unauthorized access of a computer network. Carter pulled out the cuffs. Brandon didn't resist, didn't argue, just turned around and let it happen. As they read him his rights, I stayed quiet, didn't gloat, didn't say I told you so, didn't need to, because Melanie wouldn't meet my eyes. Not anymore. And honestly, that said more than anything else. She had called the cops on me because I looked suspicious, because I stood in my driveway using a phone, because I didn't smile enough, didn't blend in, all while the real threat, the one invading her life, violating her space, watching her sleep, was living under her roof. Not hidden, not masked, not distant. Right there, at her dinner table, in her Wi-Fi. That's what got me. How fast people decide who's a danger, and how slow they are to see what's right in front of them. She looked at me finally, eyes glassy, mouth trying to form words. But I didn't need to hear it. I just gave her a nod. Not forgiveness, not even understanding. Just acknowledgement. I was never the problem. And now, she knew it too. They walked Brandon out in cuffs. No yelling, no drama. Just quiet steps down a cracked driveway. Navarro stayed close. Carter followed. Brandon didn't fight, didn't speak. He just kept his eyes down, like the ground might open and swallow him. Might have been easier if it had. Melanie stood there, arms hanging at her sides, like the weight of what just happened hadn't fully hit her yet. I stayed where I was, didn't move, didn't offer a word, until Navarro paused near the curb. He looked at me, steady. You were right, he said. If you hadn't caught this, we might have never known. I gave him a slow nod. That was enough. He turned back toward the car, and just like that, they were gone. Brandon, the surveillance, the whispers through Wi-Fi. The storm had passed. But Melanie stayed, still watching me, still trying to figure out what to say. She took a few steps closer, her voice soft and cracking. I was wrong, she said. I made an assumption. I thought you were something else. And I'm sorry. I looked at her, not angry, not smug, just tired. I shook my head. I don't need an apology, I said. I just need people to do better. She didn't answer, didn't have to. Then stop, right in front of my house. 2 officers stepped out. One tall and square-jawed, the other shorter, but with that same heavy stance. I felt it then. That shift in the air. The calm breaking. I hadn't done anything wrong, but my heart still picked up speed. Because deep down, I knew. This wasn't a casual stop, and I had no idea just how far this was about to go. They didn't rush, didn't storm the yard or shout commands. But they didn't smile either. One officer approached, while the other hung back near the car, hand resting close to his belt. Not on the gun, but close enough to send a message. I stepped out slowly, not because I was guilty, but because when you're me and the cops show up unannounced, you move careful, real careful. Sir, the taller one called out, we got a report of suspicious activity. Mind telling us what you were doing out here earlier? I blinked. Suspicious activity? I looked at them, then back at my front door. Was this real? I was changing my Wi-Fi password, I said, calm as I could manage. My internet's been slow, so I reset my network. He squinted at me, like the words didn't quite add up. Or maybe they just didn't fit the picture he already had in his head. And you live here? He asked. That one stung. My car's in the driveway. My name's on the mailbox. This is my house. My name's Darius Coleman, I said. I've lived here 3 years. Before he could say anything else, a voice cut through the air behind me. He's lying. I turned, and there she was, Melanie Foster, standing on her porch like she was queen of the neighborhood watch, arms crossed, eyes narrow. He's always out there messing with his phone, she said, watching people, just standing there for 10 minutes, like he's waiting on something. I couldn't believe it. I wasn't watching anyone. I was on my router settings, trying to protect my own damn network. I was updating my Wi-Fi settings, I said flatly, because someone's been using my internet without permission. She scoffed. Oh, sure. And I'm supposed to believe that? The officers exchanged a look. This wasn't about stolen internet anymore. It was turning into something else, something heavier. Ma'am, the shorter officer spoke up, do you have any evidence that Mr. Coleman has done something illegal? Melanie hesitated, because of course she didn't. She just had a feeling, a hunch, that gut whisper she never questioned. I don't know, she finally muttered. I just think you should check. I clenched my jaw. The silence that followed was loud. The taller officer looked at me again. Sir, would you mind if we took a quick look at your router settings, just to clear this up? I shouldn't have to, but I've seen how these things go. So I nodded. Fine, I said, pulling out my phone. Here, take a look. I handed it over. And that's when everything started to change. I handed over my phone without flinching. Not because I owed them anything, but because I knew the truth was sitting right there on the screen, and I was tired of feeling like I had something to prove. The taller officer, Navarro, I think his name was, started scrolling through the router app. His partner, Carter, leaned in beside him, eyes moving fast. Neither of them said much at first, just tapped, scanned, looked again, then Navarro's brow furrowed. You name your devices? He asked. Not like that, I said. My stuff's just listed by brand. You'll see my phone, my laptop, the TV in the living room. That's it. He nodded slowly, still scrolling. Crestwood ISO 1, he said out loud. That yours? I shook my head. Never seen it before, but it's been logging into my network all week. Carter tapped into the connection history. Her eyebrows raised. This thing's not just popping in, it's staying connected for hours. Exactly, I said, and I never gave out my password. Navarro's whole posture shifted. It was subtle, but I caught it. He wasn't just humoring me anymore. Now he was paying attention. I walked back toward my front door. Same door I'd walked through 100 times without incident, but now it felt different. Like every step had weight. Like I'd crossed a line I didn't know was there. One drawn by someone else's fear. This isn't just a story about Wi-Fi, or cameras, or one kid making a mistake. It's about how fast we decide who the villain is, how quickly we build stories in our heads. Stories we believe so hard, we call the police over them. All it took was me standing outside with the phone. That was enough for someone to see danger, not facts, not evidence, just a feeling. That feeling could have ruined me, could have gotten me hurt, or worse. And yet, the actual danger was behind her own front door. So here's my question for you. What would you have done? If you were Melanie, if you saw someone outside your window, on their phone, in their own driveway, would you have stopped to ask? Would you have waited to understand? Or would you have called? Be honest. I'm not here to lecture you, just to ask something simple. Look closer next time. Ask first, judge later. Because the truth, it's not always what it looks like. So what would you do? Let me know in the comments.